What's up? Welcome back to Nowstalgia. Dave here with a review of Some Sexy Songs for You, the new collab album from Drake and his OVO Sound label mate of many years, PartyNextDoor. Drake has obviously been in the news a lot in the last year. We will not be relitigating the rap beef with Kendrick Lamar. We will be sticking largely to the text here with this new music. I do find it notable that Drake did not take a break, take much time off. He had alluded to that when For All the Dogs came out. Obviously, everything changed in the time since then. Currently on tour in Australia, walking out with a custom sweatshirt of some kind with bullet holes and fake smoke coming out of it. Pretty amusing. Drake seemingly leaning in to the combativeness of what's going on and not entirely moving on. He kind of talks out of both sides of his mouth on that topic over the course of this album, acknowledging the beef, talking about moving past it, etc. So, not really sure. Either way, I never was under the, premonition that Drake would die as a cultural force or something as a result of this beef. He already grievously lost a beef before, of course, following Pusha T's release of The Story of Adidon in 2018. Now, Kendrick Lamar, a significantly bigger figure than Pusha T, and exclamation point was dropped with this beef by Kendrick playing Not Like Us at the Super Bowl, of course, after really accentuating it at events like the Pop Out concert in LA last June, things like that. So it's still apples and oranges in a certain sense. But that being said, Drake is successful for his craft first and foremost, right? So if the work continues, the attention will be there. And that being said, Drake has pretty obviously objectively been in a creative rut for some time. I think apart from his work with 21 Savage on Her Loss, which is already several years ago at this point, there hasn't been a whole lot for us to really hang our hat on. With Drake, I've kind of abandoned the wish for Drake to drop a, quote, classic album, a great album in general. He's really not proven to be a good album artist, not since like the Obama administration at this point. We're pretty far removed from that. So as a result, I think what we're left with is a repetitiveness. So as a result, what we're left with is a repetitiveness with a lot of Drake's lyricism. It's getting quite rote and kind of dull in a certain sense. The way he speaks about women, the way he speaks about his fame and things like that. We're not really getting any new insights into Drake. Therefore, we really kind of only need him to give us new bangers or new party songs. And he's done that in a sense, but not to the same degree as, other parts of his career. It's okay to have a fallow period, but at the same time, when you've kind of made your bones on being the guy, in the genre, it's a bit of a different situation. And I'll be honest, I was not exactly excited to learn that he made a collab album with PND. I've really never cared for PartyNextDoor as an R&B singer. I find him pretty boring almost all of the time. Drake and PND have, I think, 3 or 4, higher profile collabs officially, of course. PND certainly did a lot of writing for Drake that we know of, OVO Bootcamp and whatnot. Those Drake and PND collabs don't really grab me, never have. So wasn't really excited about that going in, but it's also pretty clear from the jump that Some Sexy Songs for You is very much a Drake forward album, and it's not a 50-50 proposition. This is not like Her Loss. This is not like Drake's work with Future back in the day. This is P&D very much in support of Drake, and there are several songs on this that don't have P&D involved at all. While Drake certainly surprised me by dropping a full-length project, Some Sexy Songs for You with PartyNextDoor, so soon after a lot of his own proclamations about taking some time off and letting things breathe. Not entirely surprising that he decided to make new music so soon after Kendrick's exclamation point at the Super Bowl. I find Some Sexy Songs for You largely forgettable, which is unsurprising given Drake's recent run of projects. He has not been a great album artist for some time. However, there are some intriguing moments on Some Sexy Songs for You, which remind you of why Drake has been so successful, and that is namely his versatility and his adaptability in terms of the songs he can make. Look no further then Nokia and Die Trying. Nokia is an excellent club banger, one of Drake's best in several years, probably the biggest hit on this release. But Die Trying is Drake's closest rendition of like an acoustic Post Malone Noah Kahan song in the vein of Drake, and it's incredibly captivating. And that song right there is why we're going to keep going back to Drake, even if his cultural cachet is waning, because he just does things musically that other artists don't do. Now, does he do it with consistency? No, certainly not in the last, 7 years or whatever. But when you do get those moments of brilliance, they really grab you. One of the other highlights for me on Some Sexy Songs for You would be Small Town Fame, which is kind of like a classic Drake flow. I think it's quite good. I love some of the bars on it, popping out in Arizona. I feel like Tate McRae. Love the Canada reference there. And then, it should come as no surprise that I'm a fan of his Charlie XCX reference, putting Charlie up her nose, X on her tongue. She been geeking hard. She done had a brat summer. Love it. This is kind of classic Drake wordplay that I feel like we don't get as much as we used to. Brian Steele, I also like the flow on that. Very reminiscent of like a Little Baby flow, to be honest. I think the big problem with a lot of this album is that it's a lot of, crooner Drake, R&B Drake. And that's just Drake at his less effective than he is when he's a rapper, because he's an excellent rapper, excellent wordsmith, especially when he's dialed in. And he's like so-so at the R&B. Of course, the fact that he does both is why Drake is Drake, obviously. But I've just never really cared for like the lean hard into crooner stuff, Noticeably, of course, this, dropped on Valentine's Day, February drop, reminiscent of two of his other February drops, So Far Gone, way back in the day, but also If We're Reading This. And If We're Reading This happens to be my favorite Drake album of all time, but that also was very rap forward. And this album isn't that at all. Probably the most polarizing song on the album because it has a lot of good qualities, but also a lot of grating aspects. That would be Gimme a Hug. I love the horns on it, but the hook is very weak. But then there's also like this Boys to Men ass like sung background, some fun bars. Also Drake doing R&B. It's kind of a mismatch, but in an interesting way. And I just wish if the hook was like anything else, I think I would like this song quite a bit. Other news we just got about Drake regarding him going to Wireless Festival once again in England. And noticeably, he's headlining all 3 days with like different themes and different set lists throughout. I believe day 2 is Drake with the Mandem, which we would have to assume means Drake with all his contemporaries in the UK that he's close with, assumingly Giggs and Central C and Skepta and who knows who else. That's awesome. Drake has done Wireless before. Think of the Non-Stop music video. The live performing is from Wireless, I believe. Or was it Reading and Leeds? I don't know. The thing is, Drake does festivals in the UK. He's done them at least, one or two other times. And he never does festivals here. Obviously, that's due to like touring, contracts, like non-compete clauses and things like that. Just a shame. And I felt this way back in 2018 when the Non-Stop video came out. But like, it would be so sick to experience Drake in a general admission setting like that, He's largely been an arena artist in the States, never really doing the stadiums. Kendrick, just announced the stadium tour with SZA. Drake could do stadiums, but he usually doesn't. He does the smaller venues, but there's still big arena venues. I just wish he would do a festival one day, but in the States, doesn't seem like he will. That would be very interesting, though. I'm very curious what happens at Wireless with Drake. But I think the main takeaway, and you can see the, fanfare that he's getting from his fans in Australia right now, that Drake is still a massive artist. And even if he's taken a lot of L's, including the self-imposed stuff, like the bullshit lawsuit against his own label for the success of Not Like Us, which was the craziest way to respond to a rap beef, months later. Leaving all that aside, Drake still has a lot of pull, and I could think there's some moments on some sexy songs for you. Nokia and Die Trying really grabbed me. I think Gimme a Hug will grab a lot of people, warts and all. I like Small Town Fame a lot as well. Other than that, I didn't like too much. I mentioned Brian Steele as well. Spider-Man, Superman, I thought was all right. Yeah, it's kind of par for the course in terms of a full album length, but I think more than anything, it's like Drake back on the horse, so to speak. Let me know though, what'd you think of Some Sexy Songs for You? What was your favorite aspect of it? How you feeling about Drake these days? Drake moving forward, given all that's happened? Let me know. And for more music reviews, more rap reviews, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.